on that embarrassing freaking episode of Flagrant when they dragged her on there. That was stupid. I'm just gonna say that straight out. I watched it. I listened to it because like I said, I listened to Flagrant. That was a bad episode. The internet broke Akash Singh. The fact that we're still talking about this, I did a video months ago, and now we're still talking about this?
First week this was happening, she goes, you know what, baby? God knows what's true. We know what's true.
That's right.
What else matters? Who cares what anybody thinks?
Bro, we starting the video off on a bad foot. We're starting the video off on a bad foot. The first time, anytime someone says, we know what God thinks, we're already on a bad situation. Because that means that you have accepted that you are not going to try to control the perception of the situation, right? That could be a good thing. You could be like, you know what? I can't control people want to accept falsehoods about the situation or lies about it. I've already told my truth and they don't want to accept that. God knows what's true, blah, 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 yada, 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 boom, boom, boom. But we already know the situation is not about God knowing the truth. It's about her as wife creating a perception of their relationship or a perception of him and her. The perception is the problem. But let's get back into it.
And I was like, I care. What are you talking about? There's a side of me that's like, maybe it's a short guy thing, but I really identify with like Kendrick Lamar, where it's like, if we want beef, I'll destroy everything. I'll burn everything down. There's a little part of me that's pre-therapy.
No, we don't want that.
I'm already stopped. I stopped twice already. Why are we talking about Kendrick Lamar? He's not on the level of Kendrick Lamar. He doesn't even have Kendrick Lamar energy. Bro. This is bad.
That's like, I don't care about the money. I don't care about whatever. You came at my wife. Let's just burn it all down.
All right, so it's been around 5 months since we all sat back and witnessed the brutal humiliation ritual of Akash Singh, which of course happened after his wife essentially tarnished his reputation in a lousy attempt to become an influencer, which got so embarrassing for Akash that he eventually had to step away from the Flagrant podcast, as he hasn't done an episode since last Christmas.
First, before I comment on this, you see this man's face in the corner? Like, I'm trying to be serious, and I'm sure this is the second reaction video on my channel. I have another one. I'm an unserious individual, okay? That face right there tells me everything. That is a face of a man who knows that he is being forced into a situation by his wife. He don't want to be on his camera. He's trying to look like, oh yeah, I'm here because I want to be here. But the reality is, he don't want to be there. He does not want to be there. He's trying to pretend to be the husband that is accepting of this behavior of like acting like, oh, we're both on social media and I'm on her TikTok video and I want to do this thing and I want to be present in this situation or in this time, and we know he don't. We know he don't, because if he did, he would have done it himself. He is the celebrity here. Or quote unquote celebrity here, you know? He's the one that the public knows about, right? So if he wanted to do things like this on TikTok and everything, he would have done it. He would have done it. He would have put himself out on social media a long time ago. He didn't. He did not. His claim to fame is being the sidekick to Andrew Schultz on his podcast, right? So I could just tell, look at this man's face. This is a face of a man who is going to go down. This is the face of a man, his wife is going to take him down, and we're seeing it happen in real time. Let's jump back in the video,
As he hasn't done an episode since last Christmas, which he of course blames on his current comedy tour, but we all know it's because his wife exposed him for being a human doormat and her personal ATM.
How do you and your husband split finances?
We don't. This is not a two-way street. This is a one-way street. His money is our money, and my money is my money.
For those of you who are new here, hi, my name is Justine. I'm a stay-at-home wife, but I don't cook or clean because I don't feel like it. And my husband is a full-time stand-up comedian, and he buys me lots of nice things.
Pause for a second. I saw the video. I knew off rip I was gonna say. She's gonna say the whole, I'm a stay-at-home wife, but I don't cook and clean. So what are you doing? What are you doing as a stay-at-home wife? He's buying you bags. He's taking you out probably to fancy places because he's trying to keep up the perception of his relationship to the public. Let's just be real here. We all saw where he said he went broke trying to upkeep this lifestyle for her, right? So he's buying you bags, taking you out, doing all these things, and you sit at home for 24 hours of your life. Doing what? Now you have a podcast that you can say, oh, I'm doing a podcast. You're only doing a podcast because your husband does a podcast. Let's be real here, right? You are a stay-at-home wife. You do not make any kind of money. You don't bring in any kind of funds. You don't bring in any kind of... You're a stay-at-home wife, not a mother. You are a stay-at-home wife. And before you were married, were you a stay-at-home girlfriend? I don't know what she was doing before, but to be a stay-at-home wife is nasty.
So she basically made Akaash's whole fan base boot him off the internet. And based on this recent interview, it honestly seems like he's still having a super rough time with it all. Because if you guys don't remember, the craziest thing his wife did last year was when she constantly fantasized about other men on her podcast and bragged about all the fun she had in the frat houses back in college. Which in and of itself was completely humiliating for Akaash, as he was under the impression that she was a virgin when they first met.
My wife also hadn't had any sexual partners, so that helped us connect a lot more.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you believe her?
I was popping my pussy and living my best life in these white boy frat houses.
All right, so I think I said it in my last video. I'm not sure, but Justine does come off as a girl who just uses for like terms thinking that she wants to be cool, and she doesn't really know what they mean. Like, I feel like there was points in time where she said some things in some videos when I was watching it, and I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. And it feels like she was just trying to use a term that she thought meant one thing, and it ended up not meaning that. Like, you don't say that when you're just saying, I was dancing. Like, that's not a term you say when you're saying I was just dancing, right? And I think like on that embarrassing freaking episode of Flagrant when they dragged her on there, that was stupid. I'm just going to say that straight out. I watched it. I listened to it because I listened to Flagrant. That was a bad episode. They didn't really address anything. His co-host didn't really treat him the same way they would have treated someone else in the situation. They allowed her to like kind of say things or get away with things that like we all know is BS, right? So that episode is a wash. Like, that's the reason why this situation is still going on. And she tried to play it off. She tried to say that the term pop that was not in regards to sexual actions with men, right? Which I do believe that to be true. I do think that she was just using the term out of the context in which the term should be used. And some people do use it for that meaning, but nobody says that, right? Like, nobody says like, I went to the club and I was popping that all night. Nobody says this. I haven't heard it. Maybe her age group or something. I don't know. Maybe they say that. That's a weird thing to say. But I think that the internet used that to kind of like stretch the situation further than what it was. Because I don't think that she was essentially having sex with men. She said that she was a virgin, but then there's a situation where some guy was playing in her booty hole or something. I don't know. So like, I guess your perception of what that means or whatever, I don't know. But that term, I do think that she was using it out of context.
And I had a roster of guys that I would rotate through. So
that's
it's
still
like,
nasty.
So after that story spread like wildfire across social media, it quickly became the only thing he was known for. Like, nowadays, more people recognize Akaash for being a simp rather than a stand-up comedian. He's essentially the podcast Will Smith. I mean, even to this very day, the comment section under each and every Flagrant episode is absolutely flooded with people clowning on Akaash and his marriage, even though he hasn't done an episode for over 4 months now. So this really didn't disappear like he thought it would. And it absolutely altered the man's image for the very worse.
I'm a hustler who scams a little bit. I'm not a scammer who hustles.
I'm not gonna lie, that was sexy, and that's why I'm actively trying to have an orgy. I just know that Naz.
Bro, I know she's about to say something crazy. This is nasty. As a man, if I was sitting in that seat, we're ending the interview right now. The fact, this wasn't a live showing. That's the thing that people are not understanding. This wasn't a live showing. This was recorded. He could have asked, yo, take that out. And they edit podcast episodes all the time. This is not something new. Everything is edited. If you don't want it on there, unless it was live, you can take it out. And even with live things, you can edit them afterwards, right? So the only proof of it is that somebody recorded it during the live. If I put a live on YouTube right now, I can edit the live. So the fact that that was said on their podcast, and for some weird reason, Akash never ever said, yo, that was disrespectful. What you said about another woman's husband to their face, it's... Bruh. To have to deal with this publicly is nasty work. It is nasty work. Bruh. Let's go back in it. I know she's about to say something crazy. I feel like I remember this part of the video, the podcast, and I know she's about to say something crazy. It's nasty. It's just nasty work, bro.
I just know that Naz dick is like at least 10 inches.
So once he realized that there really wasn't anything he could do to salvage his dying reputation, he pretty much buried his head in the sand, quit the podcast, and proceeded to blame his absence on the comedy tour that he's doing right now.
Damn, just look at this man's hair, bro. He looks stressed. Hair look thin on the sides. Look at his face. This is a stressed man, bro. That's a stressed man.
Which is, of course, a pretty pathetic excuse, because nearly every single comedian you see doing a weekly podcast is doing a comedy tour at the exact same time. Because, believe it or not, it turns out podcasting is literally the easiest job in the world. The real reason Akash is not on Flagrant anymore is because the dynamic he used to have with Andrew Schultz and the other co-hosts is permanently screwed. I mean, they would essentially have to tiptoe around making fun of the guy and his relationship because he's just way too sensitive about it, which he makes pretty obvious in this recent interview he did with Hot 97, where he basically just embodies that meme of that guy sobbing behind a smiley face mask. Like, he's clearly infuriated by this entire thing, and sadly enough, he's actually forced himself to believe that the only reason he received any backlash was because he's super famous.
So, like, the thing about the Flagrant podcast being pretty much the dynamic being skewed, 100%. And like, because Andrew Schultz be busy. He be doing tours, shows, movies, and he's able to keep going on the podcast. He'll miss a few days, but for the most part, he's there, right? Even when he was shooting Street Fighter, he was gone for like a week, 2 weeks. Then he came back on. And I think that, like, Akash, they're trying to maybe wait till things blow over to get Akash to come back. But then, like, this recent interview that we're about to see, maybe some parts of, this is recent. That's the reason why we're even watching this video right now, is because he made a recent video, or he made some recent comments about his relationship with his wife. If you wanted to die, then stop talking about it. When you go to these interviews, tell them, do not bring up my wife in the situation with my wife. I'm an individual. My relationship is not the current conversation around my life. Move forward. You feel me? And maybe some people may be like, yo, well, what happened with your wife? Blah, blah, in the comments, but you don't have to address those comments. You go there, you do your interview, you got a comedy show out there, XYZ. I wonder if he's seen any dips in his comedy show, right? He can't, I'm losing my train of thought. Golly. He can't promote it on Flagrant like he used to, because he's not on Flagrant, right? And I wonder if people look at him differently now that they've realized that he, like the video said, is a walking doormat. His wife is literally just walking all over him, and he's refusing to acknowledge this situation and acknowledge it in a real way, right? He's just allowing it to just take legs and run off and create the perception out there that he disagrees with but won't actually deal with. You know? Let's get back in the video.
You know you need to thank her, right?
All the time. I buy her nonstop things.
I know. I see her. I love her, by the way.
She loves you. She and I have a relationship where it's like, I don't give a f what you say. She can give a f what I say. I have her location. She has my location. Every time if you look at 90% of her TikToks, they're on our couch. Like, she don't go nowhere without me. So I'm like, whatever you say. I don't care. I know you. But the internet.
That's him basically saying she's not cheating. She's not out here doing XYZ because they know each other's location. Nobody's saying that she's cheating on you, bro. Nobody is saying that she is doing something outside of the marriage. What are we doing here? That's projection, right? He's projecting his feelings about the situation onto a different, and he's trying to redirect it to something else, right? He's trying to say, hey, my wife is loyal to me, so why should I marry? Why should I worry about that situation? That's not what we're talking about, bro. We're talking about how you are allowing your wife to create a perception of you. This isn't, nobody cares about your marriage. You feel me? Nobody cares about, they're going to divorce. Nobody actually cares about that. They're caring about how are you allowing your wife to create a perception of you when you are the one who make the money and bring in the money for the family. For him and her, their family, call it family. How are you allowing this as the breadwinner in your family? If she was making all the bread, then you just gotta eat that, right? Because this is how she's making her money. She's making her money by talking about you, and people are creating a perception based on how she's talking about you. And this is how she's making her money. The fact that you can't even go on your podcast, like how long are you going to stay off of your podcast? How long are they going to pay you to not be on the podcast? I don't know if he's getting paid for this podcast since he's not on anymore, right? How long are you going to allow that to happen, bro? Tell your wife to chill. Tell your wife to chill out, bro. It's not that hard. Tell your wife, stop talking. It's crazy.
I just ran with it and made it a thing. And at first, it really f***ed me up.
I wanted to ask you, how did you really feel? Because, like, I can't ever gauge, because you are a comic. You're so good at this. You do have thick skin.
Yeah.
I have seen, meaning, for the most part, the success that you have had, I don't know. I don't feel like things really phase you like that. So I couldn't gauge if it really hurt.
I was deeply phased.
Yeah, we know that.
What hurt
you saw your face, bro.
It's just they're saying it about your wife. And I think the stuff they say about me will make me insecure. But when you're saying this about my wife and you're calling her all this vile stuff, people were messaging my mom and her mom saying she's a whore, she's this, she's that. It was like, yo, this is crazy how far this has gone.
That's crazy. I think that people, unfortunately, the internet is one of those things. And like, I do think that people need to not attack people who aren't part of the problem. I don't think you should attack anybody, period. Right? But I think that if you got something to say, make a video, make a point of view. But I think that going out your way to like target his family or call her names, you don't know her. You don't know her. Let's be real here. We don't know. We have a perception of them. We have a perception of her. We have a perception of him. I think that we need to relax. You feel me? To message his mom, that's crazy. And then he has to probably deal with that, right? He has to go to his mom and explain the situation. Hey, you know, people are taking this out of context. She said XYZ. Maybe she shouldn't have said it. But I do think that, like, he still is missing the point of controlling his household as a man. You gotta control it. You gotta control it. Either you gotta control it, control your actions, or you gotta sit your wife down and explain how her actions is hurting the brand, right? Like, you gotta control this. You gotta step in. You cannot have her just running wild like this. It's crazy.
And everything she gets said, y'all are chopping up. And I've probably done this to 1,000 famous people, so I don't knock the people who did it.
Sure.
But it did let me, I think God does everything for a reason, and I think for me, this was God's way. Because this is how I found out I had some level of fame.
So once you hear this insane cope of his, it's just really hard to feel bad for the guy. Like, he truly believes that his wife's an angel who's done absolutely no wrong, and the only reason they received any backlash was because they're so famous and important. Which is just so funny because before this humiliation tour, Akash was only really known for being Andrew Schultz's yes man, who would laugh like a hyena and slap his knee whenever Schultz would breathe.
That's crazy. That's
that
crazy.
was pretty much the extent of his presence online.
Yo.
So if anything, the story about his wife...
How he gets simped out by his own mans, though. Like, even Andrew Schultz was like, bro, it wasn't that funny. Bro, what? See, the thing is, too, I listen to a lot of the podcasts, so I don't see them in person, like the videos. And, yeah, that's nasty, bro. That's nasty. Akash, you gotta... Akash, bro. And the thing is, that's why his wife is allowed to walk on him. Any man who will big belly laugh at a joke from another man when he isn't telling something that funny, you know, like he's pushing the laugh to try to like hype up his mans on his own podcast that they share together. Bro, you're a doormat. You feel me? Like your mentality's already walk on me. I'm a second man's. You feel me? In a 2-man situation, I'm the second man's. And that means you would never be the first man's. You feel me? And that's a recipe for disaster when your wife is somebody who wants to make it the perception of you what you are. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's not going out her way to like build you up to the public. She's going out her way to make the public know exactly the kind of person you are. It's nasty, bro.
Ruining his career was more famous than anything he's ever done. But of course, Akash chalks it up to him just being an absolute world-famous A-list comedian.
This is recent.
Yeah.
So you're just realizing you're famous now?
I didn't know, because people would be like, what was your I made it moment? I was like, I haven't made it. What are you talking about? And now it's like, well, when the whole world called my wife a whore, I realize I'm doing okay.
That you've made it.
Yeah. That's how I found out. But I think it was just like, I'm watching them say this about her. Y'all don't know her. You're doing it off a 2-minute TikTok. That's right. I know this woman, and I read people pretty well. That's kind of like what most of my clips are about.
Right.
I'm not that big of a moron that a girl would lie to me for 14 years or whatever, 10 years, about being a virgin, and I would not even bother watching her TikToks to find out she talks about getting, you know what I mean? Like, none of this, how are we believing this? I couldn't understand it.
And so constantly during this interview, he bounces back and forth between the ideas that his wife was completely joking and that she was just being true to herself with everything she said, which automatically confirms that this guy is struggling to face reality even to this very day. Even though he swears that she never lied to him about being a virgin, the truth is simply out there for everyone to see. Like, she was never trying to be a comedian in any of these videos. She actually seemed to be trying to go down this girl boss influencer route, and it honestly appeared as if she was trying to make her terrible podcast into a cheaper version of the Call Her Daddy podcast, which revolves around gossiping and telling raunchy true stories about their past lives.
And I made the dumb mistake of letting him sleep over, like not really wanting to fucking hook up. And I like woke up in the morning and like my asshole was a little sore.
Oh, man, bro. Akash, man, get your girl, bro. Akash, man, get your girl, get your girl. All right, I think we've seen enough. I think we get the picture. I do think we got the picture, and we understand that this situation is probably never going to end. Akash just won't do what he needs to do as a man. He thinks that like pretending to be unbothered, but saying that it would bother. If it bothered you, bro, then stop it. That's what I'm trying to understand. Like, if it bothered you, why are you condoning it? Why are you trying to excuse it? It's clearly bothering you, bro. Yet you sit on here and say, it's not bothering me enough. I still kind of like, you know, she's okay and she's this and this is because I'm famous. You're not that famous, bro. And like, this could happen to anybody. The fact that it's spread so wide is because you do have some kind of fame attached to yourself. And everybody's wondering, why would you allow your wife to diminish your brand like this? Her past is her past. Nobody cares about her past. But when she comes online and tells everybody that she has a man playing in her booty hole, I do think that you need to step in and be like, hey, listen, you are a married woman. I don't appreciate these stories being told. You're not a comedian and these stories aren't comedic. Nobody's laughing about that. Nobody. It wasn't even set up like a comic was set it up. There was no beginning, middle, punchline. It was straight on, this man played with me while I was sleeping. And unfortunately, yes, she had no control over that. That is sexual assault. But why are we sitting on a podcast as a married woman and telling people this? We didn't need to know this. We didn't ask. This is crazy. She does not bring in the amount of money y'all need to sustain yourself for her to be out here destroying the legacy of a man who brings in the money. That's my whole thing, bro. But if you can let me know in the comments if my commentary on this is on point, or if you disagree, let me know. But we'll keep watch. Hopefully he shows back up to Flagrant, but I don't think he will. That Flagrant episode was embarrassing, bro. I'ma holler at you, all right? Peace.